Imaginary friend stories. I'm already scared. When my son was about 3 years old, we were living with my mom in an older apartment. I had already gotten a weird vibe from it. The atmosphere felt heavy and a little oppressive, but I assumed it was just because of the age. However, my son started waking up in the middle of the night and would talk to his friend, who he described as the Hat Man. He would always wake up and tell Hat Man that he didn't want to go play with him because he was supposed to be asleep and that he'd see him tomorrow. This was always followed by him waking me up and asking for a glass of water. Why do I feel like we've heard other stories about the Hat Man, but like not imaginary friend ones? Like people see the Hat Man sometimes. Ugh. One day, my daughter came home from preschool and told me she had a new friend that joined her classroom named Susha. I didn't think much about it. My daughter would say things like she wanted a colorful backpack like Susha's or hair ribbons like hers. One day, my husband asked the teacher to point out which girl on the playground was Susha, and the teacher told him there was no such girl. What the Okay, we have an update. After that, my husband insisted this was an imaginary friend and discouraged my daughter from mentioning her. It was several months before she brought Susha up again. We went on a trip to Argentina from California, and as we were riding up a glass elevator in the Buenos Aires airport, my daughter suddenly pointed down into the crowd and said, "Look, there's Susha. She followed us here." Even though Dad told her to go away. Neither myself or my husband saw a child there where she was pointing. Okay, well, I shouldn't have read that update. Can you imagine like your kid pointing like, "Oh, there she is," and there's nothing there? My sister and I had the same exact imaginary friend when she was 6 and I was 5. Her name was Narni. Narni? It would freak our older brother and parents out that we both would talk to her and knew exactly where she would be. They would wonder how we both would interact with her at the same time and that our descriptions of her matched. We would even talk about how she would get angry or jealous. Our parents thought for sure that it was the spirit of a child that had passed. When I was little, I claimed to have an imaginary friend who had light brown hair, wore a nightgown, and had stars for eyes. Well, my niece was living at my old childhood home and told me that she has a friend who misses me, and asked why I went away. Why the frick did I just get goosebumps? When I asked her who it was, she described my old imaginary friend. It was super spooky. I swear I have goosebumps right now. What the fuck? Just because I read this scary stuff does not mean I'm not scared, bitch. I'm fucking scared too. Shall I read one more? I'm already like spooked. My youngest sister, who was 4 years old at the time, had an imaginary friend named Paris Jaris. My dad had built her a small playground in the backyard where my mom could see her and hear her while she was in the kitchen. My sister would have tea parties and such with her imaginary friend. One day, my mom heard her say, "Don't worry, as long as I'm alive, they won't hurt you." She paused and said, "Well, if you do that, then I can't help you. It's not nice to kill people." What the Wait, let me reread that. One day, my mom heard her say, "Don't worry, as long as I'm alive, they won't hurt you." She paused and said, "Well, if you do that, then I can't help you. It's not nice to kill." Okay, I got it. It's not nice. Imaginary friend is plotting against the family. Oh my. The imaginary friend's like, either you're down with me or you're going out with the family. There's a lot more imaginary friends stories. Let me know if you want more of those, or like, let me know if you had an imaginary friend so I could block you. I'm just kidding. Let me know if you had an imaginary friend. I asked my mom and she said I didn't, so good for me.